My dear friend, please don't scroll past this message and please don't ignore what you're about to hear because this is not just a random thing that happened. You see, out of all the millions of voices trying to get your attention, right now you found this one, and out of all the things pulling at your mind, something made you stop right here. So do you know why that happened? Well, it's because I set this up and I planned this moment before you even woke up today, because there's a door in your life that has been shut for so long that you've stopped thinking it could ever open, and you've knocked on it, and you've pushed against it, and you've even tried to break it down, but it stays locked. And what you don't know, and what I'm about to tell you, is that I've been working on that door, and today I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing and why everything is about to change, so stay with me until the end, because there's something special I need you to get about what's coming. I see you, my child, and not the version of you that you show to everyone else, and not the mask you put on when people are looking, but I see the real you, and the one who lies awake at night wondering if things will ever get better, and the one who has smiled through pain so many times that you've forgotten what real joy feels like. And I see how tired you are behind your eyes, and I see the hope that shakes like a little candle in the wind about to go out, but somehow it's still burning, and you've been through more than most people know, because there are fights you've had in silence, and wins you never celebrated because you were too tired to notice them, and losses that left marks no one can see. And I know about the door that slammed in your face when you didn't expect it, and I know about the chance that slipped away from you, and I know about the relationship that ended, and the job that went away, and the dream that seemed to die. But here's what you need to understand. Because closed doors aren't always saying no, and sometimes they're pointing you somewhere else. And sometimes, listen really carefully now, sometimes a door is closed not because you don't deserve what's behind it, but because I'm getting ready something way bigger than what you were asking for. Let me take you deeper into this truth, because you've been staring at that closed door so hard that you've missed what I've been building all around you. And while you were sad about what you couldn't have, I was making something you couldn't even picture. And while you were crying over being told no, I was getting ready your welcome into something way more amazing. And your tears were never wasted, because every single one of them was saved and counted and turned into fuel for the big change that's coming. I want you to think about a time when you were totally sure that something was meant for you, but it didn't work out, and remember how crushed you felt, and remember how you questioned everything, even me. And now I want you to think about what happened after that, because in a lot of cases you finally saw why that door needed to close, and you saw how that no protected you from something that would have hurt you, and you saw how that letdown put you in place for something better. But I know there are still some closed doors that you don't get, and some rejections that still hurt, and some losses that still don't make sense. And this is why I'm talking to you right now, because I'm about to open doors that will explain everything. And doors that will make every closed one worth it, and doors that no person can shut once I swing them open. There's a special kind of door that only I can open, and it's not opened by who you know, or what you can do, or your money, or your hard work, but it's opened by my powerful hand. And when I open it, no force in heaven or on earth or anywhere else can close it. And this is the kind of door I'm opening for you. I need you to understand something about how I work, because I don't follow human schedules, and I don't follow human thinking. And what seems late to you is right on time to me, and what seems impossible to you is just a chance for me to show my power. And you've been frustrated by the waiting, and I get that, because waiting is hard and not knowing is painful. But the waiting has never been empty, because every single day of delay has been a day of getting ready, both for you and for what I'm getting ready for you. Think about it this way, because if I had opened certain doors for you 5 years ago, you wouldn't have been ready, and you would have walked through and been crushed by what was on the other side, and the success would have destroyed you because your character hadn't grown enough to handle it, and the relationship would have failed because you hadn't healed enough from old wounds, and the chance would have been wasted because you didn't have the skills or the smarts or the grown-up thinking to take care of it right. And every delay has been on purpose, and every wait has had a reason, because I've been growing in you what will be needed on the other side of that door. Think about the eagle, because when a storm comes, most birds run to safety and hide in trees or bushes until the danger passes. But the eagle does something different, because the eagle uses the very winds of the storm to fly higher, and it spreads its wings and lets the wild air lift it above the clouds and above the rain and above the lightning. And while other birds are shaking in their hiding spots, the eagle is flying in the sunshine above the storm. And this is what I've been teaching you, because through every closed door and every delay and every letdown, I've been teaching you to use what was meant to destroy you as the very thing that lifts you up. And the storms in your life haven't been punishments, but they've been training, and you're learning to fly in conditions that would keep others on the ground, and you're building spiritual muscles that can only be built through hard times. And some people look at your life and wonder how you're still standing because they don't understand the strength that's been made in you through the fires you've walked through, and they see the struggles, but they miss the strengthening, and they see the battles, but they miss the building. And what they call your curse, I call your training ground. And what they call your disaster, I call your growth. And now the training is making what it was meant to make, and the character that's been cleaned up is ready, and the strength that's been built is enough, and the wisdom that's been grown is ripe, and you're ready for what you couldn't have handled before. Now let me tell you about the doors I'm opening, because there's a door of money and stuff that I'm unlocking right now, and you've worried about bills more than you've told anyone, and you've done the math over and over trying to make the numbers work, and you've wondered how you'll pay certain bills, and how you'll afford what you need, and how you'll take care of the people counting on you. And I want you to know that I see every worry, and help is already on the way, and it might not come how you think, because it rarely does, but it's coming, and resources are being sent your way from places you haven't even thought of, and someone who has no good reason to help you is about to feel pushed to be kind to you, and a chance to make more is going to show up in a surprising way, and what you need is already heading to you, and the door of having enough is opening, and when you walk through it, you'll have more than enough, not just to meet your own needs, but to help others too. But money stuff is just one door, because there's another door I'm opening, and this one is about people in your life, and you've felt alone in ways that are hard to explain, and even when you're around people, there's been a loneliness that sits in your chest like something heavy, and some relationships have really let you down, and people you trusted have walked away, and people you loved have hurt you, and you've started to wonder if real connection is even possible for someone like you. So hear me clearly, because I'm bringing the right people into your life, and not perfect people. Because there are no perfect people, but the right people, and people who will really see you and choose to stay, and people who will cheer for your calling instead of fighting against it, and people who will speak good things over you instead of bad things, and people who will be loyal when you're down, not just around when you're up. And the door of friendships from heaven is opening, and some of these connections will happen fast, almost like magic, and you'll meet someone and feel something right away in your gut, like this meeting was set up by heaven. And other connections will grow slowly, getting deeper over time into the kind of friendships that become like family. And either way, the season of being alone is ending. I want you to understand something about friendships from heaven, because they're not random, and every person I bring into your life has been made ready for the meeting, just like you've been made ready, and like puzzle pieces that only fit together one way. I'm connecting you with people whose strengths match your weak spots, and whose needs match what you're good at. And these aren't friendships just because it's easy, but friendships for a reason, and they're not short-term matches, but lasting teams. And some of you have been hurt so badly by people that you've built walls around your heart, and I understand why those walls are there, because they were built for protection, but what was once a shield has become a jail, and the same walls that keep pain out also keep love out, and the same blocks that stop hurt also stop connection. And I'm not asking you to knock down your walls without thinking, but I'm asking you to trust me to show you which doors in those walls to open, and when, because not everyone who wants to be in your life should be there, and being careful is still needed, but there are people I'm sending to you who are safe, and you'll know them by my peace, because when you meet them, something in your gut will relax, and the guard you usually keep up will go down on its own. And this isn't being dumb, but it's knowing from heaven, and this is my spirit in you, seeing my spirit in them, and the loneliness you felt isn't forever, but it's been a season, and seasons change, and the desert of being alone is giving way to a place with water. So drink deep when you get there, and let yourself be loved, and let yourself be known, and let yourself be picked. And there's more, so let me tell you about the door of purpose, because you've been looking for answers, and there's a restless feeling in your soul that comes from knowing you were made for something special, but not being totally sure what it is. And you've tried different things, and some worked for a while, and others didn't. And you felt the frustration of having gifts, but not knowing exactly where those gifts are supposed to be used. And you've sensed that there's more, with more meaning, and more making a difference, and more feeling satisfied, but the path to that more has been foggy, and the fog is lifting, because I'm opening the door of purpose, and as you walk through it, things that have been confusing are going to become clear, and the pieces of your life that have seemed random and scattered are going to come together in a way that finally makes sense. And you're going to see how every experience, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones, has been getting you ready for what you're called to do. And your purpose isn't small, because I don't make small purposes, and the enemy has tried to convince you that your life doesn't matter much and that what you add is nothing special and that the world wouldn't notice if you disappeared. But those are lies, and I'm showing them for what they are right now because your purpose matters and your life matters, and what I'm calling you to do will touch lives you'll never meet and generations you'll never see. Think about it, because I shaped you in your mother's belly before you took your first breath, and I knew you before anyone else did, and I designed your personality and your passions and your abilities and your special way of seeing the world. And I placed you in this exact time in history in your exact location with your exact experiences, not randomly, but on purpose, and every detail of your life has been planned for a reason you're only starting to understand, and the gifts I put in you aren't accidents, and that thing you do naturally that others have trouble with, I put that in you, and that view you bring that's different from everyone else, I designed that, and that desire that burns in your heart, and that vision that won't die, no matter how many times it's been pushed down, I planted that, and you're equipped for something specific, and the door to that something is opening, and purpose isn't just about what job you do, but it's about who you're becoming and how that becoming changes everyone around you. And some purposes are out front where people can see, and others are quiet and hidden, but no less important, and whether you stand on a stage or sit by a bed, and whether you lead thousands or serve when your purpose matters, the same in my eyes, because I don't measure importance the way the world does, and some of my most important work happens through people the world has never heard of, and you might feel like you don't qualify because your life hasn't gone in a straight line, but I use crooked lines to write straight stories, and I use wrong turns to bring people to places they never would have reached any other way, and your winding journey hasn't been a mistake, but it's been getting you ready, and every twist taught you something you needed to learn, and every turn built something in you that will be must-have for where you're going. I want to tell you a story because there was once a woman who felt forgotten by the world, and she had been passed over for promotions she deserved, and her ideas were stolen by co-workers who took credit for her work, and she prayed for change, but nothing seemed to happen, and year after year, she stayed in the same spot watching others move up while she stood still, and what she didn't know was that I was doing something she couldn't see because I was growing her character through the unfairness, and I was teaching her to keep going through the waiting, and I was building in her a caring for the overlooked that would become the center of her calling. And then one day, without any warning, everything changed, and a door opened that she had never even knocked on, and a chance came from a direction she had never thought of, and within months she went from being invisible to being influential, not because she finally got lucky and not because she finally impressed the right person, but because my timing had arrived, and when my timing arrives, no human pushback can stop it, and the position she stepped in to let her stand up for the very people who had been overlooked like she was, and her pain became her platform, and her struggle became her strength, and every year of waiting was made good in a single season of speeding up. And this is what I do because I take what was meant to hurt you, and I turn it into what heals others through you, and I take the very thing that almost broke you, and I make it the base of your breakthrough. Let me tell you about another person, because there was a young man who felt trapped by his situation, and he was born into a family with not much money and no connections and no chances handed to him, and he watched others get ahead through special treatment while he struggled to be noticed, and every door he knocked on seemed to have a sign that said not for you. And he started to believe the lie that where he started decided where he could end up, and that where he came from would always draw the line for where he could go, and that the limits of his birth were the borders of his life. But I saw something in him that he couldn't see in himself, because I saw potential that his situation couldn't contain, and I saw purpose that being poor couldn't shrink, and I saw a leader hidden inside someone the world saw as nobody, and slowly I started to work, and a teacher noticed his talent and spent extra time with him, and a mentor showed up like out of nowhere, and a chance opened that made no logical sense, and an invite was given by someone who had no reason to give it, and each of these was my hand moving in ways he couldn't trace, and the breakthrough didn't come all at once, but it came in steps, with each step building on the last, and first a small opening, then a bigger one, then one bigger still, until one day he looked back and realized that he had traveled an impossible distance from where he started, and the doors that had been closed were now far behind him, and new doors stood open in front of him, doors he never could have pictured from where he started, and his limits didn't disappear, but they were made worth it, and the very things that had held him back became the story that moved others forward. And when he spoke about getting past hard things, people listened because he had actually gotten past them, and his struggle gave him believability, and his pain gave him power, and this is the pattern I use again and again because nothing in your history is wasted, and every valley prepares you to lead others through their valleys, and every mountain you've climbed makes you able to guide others up theirs. You might be wondering, is this really for me, and does God really care about the specific doors in my specific life? So let me answer that straight. Because yes, absolutely, without any doubt, yes, and I care about every detail of your life, and not just the spiritual stuff, but the everyday stuff, and not just where you end up forever, but what you go through daily, and I care about your job, and I care about your health, and I care about your money, and I care about your relationships, and I care about your dreams, and some have told you that God is too big to worry about your small stuff. But that's not understanding who I am, because yes, I'm huge beyond what your mind can hold, and yes, I hold star groups in my hand and know every star by name. But I also know how many hairs are on your head, and I know your thoughts before you think them, and I'm the God of the super big and the super close at the same time. And right now, at this very moment, I'm working for you because there are things happening in the invisible world that your regular eyes can't see, and angels are being sent, and blocks are being removed, and hearts are being softened, and situations are lining up, and you see nothing changing on top, but underneath everything is moving. Let me give you a peek behind the curtain, because in the unseen world, there's action on your side. That would shock you if you could sense it, and talks are happening in meeting rooms you've never been in, and choices are being made in places you've never gone, and people are thinking about you who don't even know why they're thinking about you, and something in their gut is pulling their attention toward you, and they can't explain it. And this is my hand setting up connections you could never set up yourself, and there are resources being sent your way, and money that was going somewhere else is being turned toward you, and chances that were meant for someone else are being saved for you instead. And you didn't push for this, and you didn't campaign for this, and you didn't even know this was possible. But I know, and I'm putting it all together, and enemies who planned against you are getting mixed up, and plans designed to hurt you are falling apart, and what looked like an unbeatable block is suddenly getting cracks, and the very thing that seemed impossible to move is about to fall, not because you pushed it down, but because I did, and you've prayed prayers that seemed to bounce off the ceiling, and you wondered if I was even listening, but I was, and every prayer was heard, and every request was noted, and though the answers seemed late, they were never denied, and the answers are now being sent, brought by angels, and helped along by people who have no idea they're part of my plan for your life. Have you ever watched a river that looks calm on top, but is actually moving with huge power below the surface? Because that's what's happening in your life right now, and the surface looks still, and your situation looks unchanged, but under what you can see, I'm moving with unstoppable power toward your breakthrough. I want to give you specific promises now, and not fuzzy general stuff, but clear statements of what I'm doing and what I will do, because even now as you hear these words, I'm touching someone's heart who has the power to open a door for you. And this person has been resistant or doubtful or just unaware of you. But in this moment, I'm softening their heart, and I'm turning their attention toward you, and within a short time, they'll give you a chance, or an invite, or an offer that will change your direction, and in the coming days, you're going to get news that surprises you, and it'll be good news, unexpectedly good, and something you applied for, but gave up on, and something you asked for, but forgot about, and something you hoped for, but stopped expecting, and it's coming back around, and this time the answer is yes, and I'm taking away a block that's been in your path, and this block has frustrated you for a long time, and you've tried to get around it, and over it, and through it, and nothing worked. But I'm removing it completely, not making it smaller, and not helping you deal with it, but removing it totally. And soon you'll walk forward and realize that what once blocked you is just gone, and there's favor coming to you that you didn't earn, and this is grace in action, and getting what you don't deserve, and someone's going to treat you better than your experience says they should, and a chance is going to open that doesn't match what you have on paper, and a blessing is going to show up that you can't trace to anything you did. And this is my favor, and I'm pouring it over your life, and the health worry that's been bothering you is on my radar. Because I'm the God who heals, and I haven't forgotten your body, and whether the healing comes through medicine, or through a miracle, or through a mix of both, healing is coming, so don't give up on your body, and don't accept what the doctor said as the last word, because my word is the last word, and my word over you is life, and the money pressure is going to ease, because I'm not promising instant rich, because that's not always my way, but I'm promising relief and provision for what you need, and wisdom for how to handle what you get, and increase that comes through real paths, and you're going to breathe easier about money, and the constant stress is going to lift. There's a dream you buried a long time ago, and you buried it because it seemed too big or too unrealistic or too unlikely, and maybe someone told you it was crazy, or maybe life situations made it seem impossible, or maybe you just got tired of hoping and decided that letting the dream die was easier than watching it stay unfulfilled. But that dream isn't dead, because it's been sleeping, and I'm about to wake it up, because you see, dreams that I plant don't run out, and they might go underground for a season into the dark dirt of letdown and waiting and forgotten hope. But they stay alive under the surface, and just because you stopped believing in the dream doesn't mean I stopped working on it, because I've been getting things ready for that dream to sprout again, and those things are almost ready, and soon is closer than you think. Something will happen that makes you remember what you used to hope for, and someone will say something, or a chance will show up, or a door will crack open, and through that crack you'll glimpse the dream you thought was dead. And in that moment your heart will jump with a strange mix of fear and excitement. And the fear will say you can't afford to hope again, because you'll only be let down, but the excitement will whisper, what if this is my moment? So listen to the excitement, and follow it, and step toward the door, because I didn't keep that dream alive through all these years just to let it die at the doorstep of coming true. Let me talk now about something that's been hurting you deeply, because there's a relationship, one that hasn't healed right, and someone hurt you, and the pain went deeper than anyone knows, and you've tried to move past it, and you've tried to forgive, but the wound keeps opening up again, and you wonder if you'll ever be really free from the pain this person caused. And I'm bringing healing to that wound, not by making you forget, because that's not how healing works, but by changing your memory of what happened, and what was once only a source of pain will become a source of wisdom, and what was once only a reminder of being let down will become a story of making it through, and you'll think about that situation and feel peace instead of pain, not today, maybe, and not tomorrow, but soon, because the healing is already happening. The person who hurt you, I want to talk about them for a second, because you've wondered why I let them hurt you, and you've questioned whether I was paying attention when they let you down, and you've asked why I didn't step in and why I didn't stop it before the damage was done. And these are fair questions, and I don't brush them off. And here's what I need you to understand, because I gave people free will, and that means people can make choices that hurt other people, and your pain wasn't my plan for you. But I'm able to weave even the worst experiences into a picture of purpose, and the hurt that person caused you doesn't have to define you, and it doesn't have to limit you, because in my hands it becomes fuel for your future, and depth for your caring, and power for your voice. And I'm also working in that person's life whether they know it or not, and my fairness might not look like your fairness, and my timing might not match what you expect, but I see what they did, and I know the whole story. And I'm a God who makes all things right, sometimes in ways you can see, and sometimes in ways that stay hidden. So trust me with the outcome, and let them go from the jail of your unforgiveness, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free, because holding on to bitterness doesn't hurt them, but it only hurts you. And the door to your healing is also a door away from your resentment. I also want to talk about the fear that wakes you up in the middle of the night, and you know the one, and the fear that plays worst-case stories on repeat in your mind, and the fear that whispers terrible possibilities about the future, and the fear that makes your chest tight and your thoughts spin. And that fear is a liar, because it shows possibilities as sure things, and it takes unlikely scenarios and shows them as guaranteed outcomes. And I haven't given you that spirit of fear because it doesn't come from me, and I'm telling it to let go of your mind. Here's the truth, because the worst thing you fear isn't going to happen, not because bad things never happen, because they do, but because I'm with you no matter what happens. And when I'm with you, there's no situation that can beat you in the end, and challenges may come and hard times may show up, but defeat never, not for my kids and not for you. And you're not going to end up alone, and you're not going to be forgotten, and you're not going to fail for good, and you're not going to miss your purpose, and you're not going to waste your life, because those fears are lies, and I'm speaking truth over them right now. Let me talk straight to some of the fears that have been bothering you, because the fear about your health, I see it, and you've worried about symptoms, and about what the doctor might say, and about what the future holds for your body. But I hold your body in my hands just like I hold your soul, and I'm the great healer, and my power reaches every cell, and every system, and every organ. So trust me with your health, and take the steps you need to take, but let go of the worry, because whatever comes, I'll walk through it with you. And I'm able to heal in ways that don't make medical sense. And the fear about your kids or people you love, I see this too, and you've laid awake wondering if they'll be okay, and if they'll make good choices, and if they'll come back to faith, and if they'll Avoid the dangers in this world, so listen to me carefully, because I love them even more than you do, and my hand is on them. Even when they seem far from me and the prayers you've prayed haven't been wasted because they've created a covering over your loved ones that's more powerful than you know, so trust me with them, and the fear about the future, and about whether you'll have enough, and whether you'll be taken care of, and whether everything will fall apart. I'm speaking to this now, because I'm the God who fed millions in a desert where there was no food, and I'm the God who made oil last when there was no more oil, and I'm the God who takes care of the birds in the sky and the flowers in the field, and you're worth way more than birds and flowers. So, if I take care of them, how much more will I take care of you? And your future is in my hands, and my hands are good. Let me tell you another story, because there was a man who stood in front of a door that he thought was his only hope, and he had tried every other option, and this door was his last chance, and he knocked, and it didn't open, and he knocked again harder, and still nothing, and he waited for hours, then days, then weeks, and the door stayed locked, and in his sadness he cried out to me saying, "Why won't this door open? And I've done everything right, and I've been faithful, and I've worked hard, so why am I still standing outside, while others walk through so easily?" And I spoke to him, though he didn't hear me at first, and I said, "Turn around," and he was so focused on the closed door that he didn't notice what was behind him, and finally worn out and out of options, he turned, and there right behind him was a door he had never seen before, and it was bigger than the one he had been knocking on, and it was more beautiful, and it was already open, just waiting for him to notice it and walk through. And he had been so stuck on the door of his own picking that he missed the door of my picking, and the door he wanted was closed because my door was open, and the rejection he felt wasn't rejection at all, but it was redirection. And this is often how I work, because you knock on one door while I'm opening another, and you're sad about one chance while I'm getting ready a better one, and your letdown is sometimes just the costume my blessing wears before it shows itself. And wait, let me say that again, because it's super important that you get this, and your letdown is sometimes just the costume my blessing wears before it shows itself, and the rejection that crushed you, it might have been protection wearing the costume of being told no, and the failure that embarrassed you, it might have been redirection dressed up as defeat, and the delay that frustrated you, it might have been preparation pretending to be punishment. And I know how hard this is to accept when you're in the middle of the pain, because when the door closes in your face, it doesn't feel like blessing, but it feels like being left behind. And when the chance slips away, it doesn't feel like protection, but it feels like punishment. But I'm asking you to trust what I see over what you feel, because what I see goes beyond the moment, and I see connections you can't see, and purposes you can't sense, and outcomes you can't predict. And the door you wanted, the one that stayed closed no matter how hard you pushed, might have been leading to a place that would have destroyed you, and the person you wanted to let into your life might have been sent by the enemy to mess up your destiny, and the chance you were sad about might have been a beautiful trap designed to look good but deliver disaster. And I close those doors not because I'm against you, but because I'm for you, and my closed doors are just as much expressions of my love as my open doors. Right now, I need you to turn around in your spirit and stop staring at the door that won't open, and look for the door I've opened. And it might not be where you expected, and it might not look how you imagined, but it's there, and it's waiting for you. How do you know my doors? So let me give you some help, because my doors line up with my word. And if a chance requires you to mess up your honesty, it's not from me. And if a relationship asks you to dump your values, it's not my door. And my doors never ask you to do wrong in order to walk through them. And my doors bring peace, not just excitement, because excitement fades fast, but peace stays. And when you stand in front of one of my doors, there will be a settled feeling in your gut, a knowing that goes beyond logic, and you might not be able to explain it to others, but you'll feel it inside yourself. And my doors often come with backup signs, because I rarely speak through just one voice, and if I'm opening a door, you'll usually see multiple signs pointing the same way, and a verse will jump off the page, and a trusted friend will say something important without knowing your situation, and circumstances will line up in a way that feels planned. And my doors are opened by my hand, not forced by yours. Because if you have to trick or lie or push desperately to get through a door, it's probably not mine. And my doors open with supernatural ease when the timing is right. And this doesn't mean you never do anything, because you do, but the doing flows instead of forces. And there's a rhythm to the doors I open, because first comes the getting ready, the hidden work I do in you and around you that you often can't sense. And then comes the nudge, the whisper in your spirit that tells you to move. And then comes the providing, the resources and the connections and the timing that all line up. And then comes the walking through, the actual going through the door. and if you try to force walking through before getting ready is done, you'll struggle. And if you ignore the nudge and miss the moment, you'll have to wait for the next round. But if you stay tuned into my leading, you'll flow through doors with a smoothness that amazes even you. And some of you have been trying to force doors, and you've been pushing and striving and wearing yourself out against barriers that won't move. And I want you to step back and take a breath and ask yourself, is this a door God is opening or a door I'm trying to break down? Because there's a big difference, and my doors might need patience, but they don't need violence, and they might need faith, but they don't need tricks, and they might need action, but they don't need worry. And if you're worried about a door, it might not be yours. And if you're at peace about a door, even if it looks hard, it probably is, because peace is the compass I've given you, so follow it. Now let me talk to those of you who are tired, and not just tired in your body, but tired in your soul. And you've been fighting for so long that you're not sure how much fight you have left. And you've been believing for breakthrough for so long that your faith muscle is exhausted, and you've been hoping against hope until hope itself feels heavy. And I see how worn out you are, and I honor how you've kept going, and you haven't given up, and that matters more than you know, because many would have quit by now, and many would have walked away from faith and from hope and from expecting good things, but not you. And you're still here, and you're still listening, and you're still open to what I might say and do, and you're hanging in there is not for nothing. And the race is almost over, at least this part of it, and you're not running in circles, and you're getting close to the finish line of this season. And the worn-out feeling you have is the tiredness of someone who has run far and is about to reach where they're going, so a little more, just a little more. I'm giving you fresh strength right now, and not human strength that runs out and has to be filled back up, but God's strength that comes from a source that never runs out. And this is supernatural energy for your spirit, so take it and let it bring back to life what's grown tired in you, and let it fire up again what's grown dim. There's a promise in my word that I want to remind you of, because those who wait on me will get new strength, and they'll fly up with wings like eagles, and they'll run and not get tired, and they'll walk and not pass out. And this isn't just pretty words, but it's a spiritual rule. And when you connect to me as your source, and when you wait on my timing instead of rushing ahead in your own strength, something supernatural happens, and strength is moved from my unlimited supply into your limited body. And you've been trying to do too much by yourself, and you've been carrying weights I never asked you to carry, and you've been solving problems I was supposed to solve, and you've been fighting battles I was supposed to fight. And no wonder you're worn out, because you were never designed to work apart from me, and you were created for connection and for depending on me and for working together. And in this moment, I'm inviting you to stop striving and stop trying to figure everything out by yourself, and stop trying to force open doors that need my hand, and rest in my presence, and let me carry what you were never meant to carry, and let me fight what you were never equipped to fight, and let me provide what you could never earn. And this isn't doing nothing, but it's trust in this. Isn't being lazy, but it's faith, because when you rest in me, you're not doing nothing, and you're positioning yourself to receive, and you're opening yourself to what I want to pour into you, and you're making room for my strength to replace your weakness, and my wisdom to replace your confusion, and my peace to replace your worry. The strength I'm giving you right now will carry you through whatever comes next, and you'll look back and wonder how you made it, and the answer will be simple, because I made it with you, and every step was held up by grace, and every moment was kept going by power, and every challenge was overcome by my presence working in and through you. And you're going to make it, and that situation that's drained you for so long is going to work out, and that battle that's used up your energy is going to end, and you're going to win, and the door you need is going to open. And when you walk through, you'll look back and see that every step of the hard road was worth it. So picture yourself 6 months from now, and you're standing in a place you couldn't have imagined reaching from where you are, and the situations that seemed stuck have changed, and the problems that seemed unsolvable have been solved, and the doors that seemed locked have swung wide open. And you look back at where you are right now, this moment of being worn out and unsure, and you smile, not because the trip was easy, but because you made it, and because you didn't give up, and because you trusted me when trusting seemed silly, and because you kept walking when stopping seemed smart. And that future version of you isn't make-believe, but it's a picture from heaven of what's coming, and I'm showing you where you're headed, so you'll have strength for the rest of the trip, and the finish line is closer than you think. So don't stop now, and don't give up now, because you're so close. And what has felt like running in place is actually movement you couldn't see, and what has felt like doing the same thing over and over is actually growing happening beneath the surface, and like an airplane on a runway, you've been building speed, even though you stayed on the ground, but the runway is running out, and the moment of takeoff is coming, and what's been gathering will suddenly let loose, and what's been building will suddenly launch, and you're about to take flight. I want to shift now and speak with fierce power over some things that have attached themselves to your life, because every chain that has held you, I'm breaking it, and addiction break, and fear break, and depression break, and worry break, and family curses break, and unhealthy soul connections break, and whatever has held you captive is losing its grip right now, and you're being set free, not partly, and not for a little while, but completely and forever, and every lie that has shaped who you think you are, I'm exposing it, and the lie that you're worthless exposed, and the lie that you're unlovable exposed, and the lie that you're too broken to be used exposed, and the lie that your past disqualifies your future exposed, and these lies have built a fake identity around you like a prison, but truth destroys lies. And I am truth, and I'm destroying that fake identity and showing who you really are, and every enemy plan against your life, I'm canceling it. And what was sent to destroy you won't succeed, and what was designed to derail you will fail, and what was planned to discourage you will backfire, and I'm turning the weapons of the enemy against himself, and what he meant for your harm, I'm using for your good. Let me speak directly to the darkness that's been hanging over your life, because I see you, enemy. And I see every plan you've put together, and I see every trap you've set, and I see every lie you've whispered, and I'm taking apart all of it, because you thought you could keep this child of mine in chains forever, but you were wrong, and you thought you could block the doors of blessing permanently, but you were mistaken, and you thought that if you attacked long enough and hard enough they would give up on me. But they didn't give up, and now your time of bothering them is ending, and every demonic assignment I cancel you in the authority of heaven, and every curse spoken against this child I break you with the power of the cross, and every family pattern of destruction I cut you off from this bloodline, and every spirit of fear and rejection and unworthiness I command you to let go and leave, and the door to their blessing is opening, and you can't stop it, and the door to their freedom is unlocking, and you have no key to lock it again, and they're stepping into a new season, and you're not coming with them, and your access is being taken away, and your influence is being removed, and your time is over. And to you, my child, did you feel something shift just now? Because in the spiritual world something moved, and keys turned, and locks clicked, and doors that have been sealed for years just released, and the breakthrough isn't only coming, but it has begun, and the process is already started. I want to tell you who you really are, because the enemy has worked hard to make you forget, and you're not a victim even though you've been hurt, and you're not defined by what was done to you, but you're defined by what I say about you, and I say you're victorious, and every attack you've survived is proof of my protection and your toughness, and you're still standing, and that's not an accident, and you're not a failure even though you've failed, because failure is something that happens, not who you are, and you've stumbled, yes, and you've fallen, absolutely, but falling isn't the same as being defeated, and defeat only happens when you refuse to get up, and you're getting up right now as you hear these words, and you're rising again, and you're not forgotten, even though you felt invisible, because I've never looked away from you, not for a single moment, and you've been on my mind constantly, and your name is written on my hand, and you're carved on my heart, so forgotten is impossible, and you're remembered with perfect love every second of every day. And you're not ordinary, even though you feel common, because there's nothing ordinary about a soul designed by me for purposes set up before time began, and you're extraordinary by design, and the enemy wants you to believe you're just another person living just another life. But I created you with unique fingerprints, not just on your hands, but on your soul, and there's no one else exactly like you, and there never will be, and you're not alone, even though loneliness has been your buddy, because I'm with you in a way that goes beyond human presence, and when everyone else leaves, I stay, and when every other voice goes quiet, mine keeps going, and you may feel alone, but the feeling is a liar, and the truth is that you're never ever alone, and you're not disqualified even though you've made mistakes, because some of my greatest servants made the greatest mistakes, and David committed adultery and murder, yet I called him a man after my own heart, and Peter said 3 times that he didn't know Jesus, yet I made him a pillar of the early church. And Paul hurt Christians before becoming history's most influential missionary, and your past doesn't decide your potential, and your failures don't define your future, and what you've done wrong isn't stronger than what I can make right, and you're not too late, and the enemy has tried to convince you that you've missed your moment, and that the window of opportunity closed while you weren't ready, and that everyone else has moved on and you're stuck forever behind. But these are lies, because in my way of doing things there's no too late, and I specialize in making up for lost time, and I can do in 1 year what would take others 10, and I can speed up your progress until you catch up to and pass where you would have been if there had been no delay, and you're not limited by your resources, and you look at what you have and think it's not enough with not enough money and not enough connections and not enough education and not enough experience. But I don't need your resources to accomplish my purposes in your life, and the boy's lunch wasn't enough to feed 5,000, but when placed in my hands it multiplied beyond counting. So your little becomes much when you give it to me and stop focusing on what you don't have and start giving what you do have, and you're not defined by other people's opinions because what they said about you was wrong and what they predicted for you was incorrect, and their limits aren't your limits and their ceilings aren't your ceilings, and the only opinion that defines your reality is mine, and my opinion is that you're capable and qualified and called, and I've spoken over you, and my word beats every other word that's ever been spoken about you. Let me paint you a picture of what's coming, because I see you walking through the door that I'm opening, and on the other side your face changes, and the stress lines soften, and the tension in your shoulders releases, and there's a lightness in your step that's been missing for years, and you're breathing deeply and freely without the weight that's pressed on your chest, and I see provision flowing into your life. Like water finally reaching thirsty ground, and your needs are met and your concerns are handled, and there's extra where there was once just getting by, and you're able to give generously because you're receiving plenty, and I see relationships that bring joy instead of pain, and conversations that encourage instead of drain, and people who show up for you like you've shown up for others with give and take and loyalty and real love that isn't based on performance, but unconditional, and I see purpose becoming clear, and your steps are confident because you know where you're going, and the confusion has lifted and the direction is obvious, and you wake up with meaning and go to sleep with satisfaction, and your life matters, and you know it matters, and I see health restored and energy returned and life force reclaimed, and your body isn't your enemy, but your helper, and you treat it well, and it serves you well, and the medical concerns that caused worry have been fixed or managed in a way that no longer steals your peace, and I see peace, deep, unshakable peace regardless of circumstances, and the outside storms may rage, but your inside world is calm, and you've learned the secret of resting in me, and even when everything around you is moving, nothing moves you, because you're anchored in something unmovable, and I see you helping others the way you once needed help, and the person who was broken is now wrapping up wounds, and the one who was lost is now guiding others home, and the one who almost gave up is now encouraging others to hold on, and your story has become a source of strength for people you haven't met yet, and your testimony has become a lifeline for souls who are right now in the same darkness you once lived in, and I see you looking back at this very moment, the moment you're experiencing right now, hearing these words, and understanding that this was a turning point, and this was the moment when everything started to shift, and this was the message that fired up your faith again and renewed your hope and redirected your path, and you'll tell others about this moment, and you'll point back to it as the beginning of your breakthrough, and this isn't make-believe, and this is prophetic vision, and this is what I see for you, and what I see I make happen, and my word doesn't come back empty, and what I speak I bring to pass. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment, not to sleep, but to see yourself walking through the open door, and see yourself receiving what you've been waiting for, and see yourself living in the freedom and the provision and the purpose and the relationships I've promised, and let this vision settle into your spirit, and let it become more real to you than your current situation, because faith is seeing what doesn't yet exist in the regular world and treating it like it does, and this vision isn't wishful thinking, and it isn't positive psychology dressed in spiritual language, and this is a prophetic glimpse of what I've already set up in the spiritual world and what will soon show up in the physical. And when I spoke the world into existence, it existed in my word before it existed in reality, and the same is true for your breakthrough, and it exists in my word in this very message before it exists in your experience. But make no mistake, it will exist in your experience, and what I've spoken I will bring to pass, and the door is open, and I need you to see it open, and I need you to believe it's open, and I need you to approach it with the expectation of someone who knows that nothing and no one can shut what I've opened, and your faith isn't a feeling. But it's a decision, and it's the decision to believe what I've said regardless of what your eyes see or your emotions suggest. And it's the choice to trust my word over your circumstances, and my promises over your fears, and my character over your doubts. So make that decision right now and choose to believe. But I need something from you, because as I open these doors, I need you to walk through them. And I'll unlock what's been locked, and I'll remove what's been blocking, but you must take the steps. And you must move when I say move, and you must trust when I say trust, and some of the doors I open won't look like doors at first, and they'll look like risks, and they'll look like invitations to leave your comfort zone, and they'll require faith, not blind faith, but faith that sees what I've promised and acts accordingly. So when I tell you to reach out to someone, reach out, and when I tell you to apply for something, apply, and when I tell you to forgive someone, forgive, and when I tell you to let go of something, let go, and your obedience is the key that works with my unlocking, because too many of my children stand in front of open doors and never walk through, because they're waiting for more certainty, and they want every question answered before they take the first step. But faith often walks before it fully understands, and faith trusts the one who opened the door more than it trusts its own ability to see what's on the other side. So walk and take the step and trust me with what you can't see. I know what you're thinking, and you're wondering if you have enough faith, and you're questioning whether your belief is strong enough to unlock what I've promised. So let me take that pressure off you, because the amount of faith needed isn't the issue, and Jesus said faith the size of a mustard seed, the tiniest of seeds, can move mountains. And it's not the size of your faith that matters, but it's the size of the God your faith is placed in. And I'm infinitely big and infinitely powerful and infinitely able, and your faith doesn't have to be perfect.